Hello, welcome once again to Pale Blends and Beyond. Thank you for joining us today. Sido Martens is a Dutch singer, guitarist, and mandolin player, most known in the Netherlands as a member of folk rock group Fungus in the mid-70s. Sido was in a folk group with Piet Kok and in the band Hello. In 1974, he joined Fungus, playing on their debut album, and contributed some to their 1975 release. After leaving Fungus in 1975, Sido recorded 4 solo albums from 75 to 1980. He also played in the traditional folk group Farmers Union. Mr. Martens then switched gears and careers, contributing to running magazines, even becoming editor of Runner's World in 1995. In 1996, Sido began recording music again and releasing new material. To date, there have been some 18 more, he can correct me if this is wrong, 18 more albums under the Sido Martens moniker. Well, welcome, Sido.
Hello, Greg.
Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me in the show.
All right. It's nice to be had, right?
Yeah.
Take us back quite a few years to your childhood, and I think I'm going to pronounce this right. Leeuwarden?
Leeuwarden, yes, it's correct.
Leeuwarden. All right. So talk a little bit about that, your childhood.
Oh, yeah, I grew up in a working class family. I have a brother and 3 sisters, and a father and a mother, of course. My father died when I was 18. He was 56. He had lung cancer because he, how do you call that in English? He sprayed cars, spray painter in the garage.
Yes.
Spray paint.
Spray paint. Yeah, that's what we would call it. Yeah.
With paint, and he inhaled it, of course,
Those
during
chemicals.
work.
Yeah.
So he got lung cancer and he died of it when he was 56, and I was 18 then. I went to several schools, of course. Kindergarten, how is that? Yeah, kindergarten. And a basic school, we call it this basic school in Holland, until you're 10 or 12, or then you go to, how do you call that? You have a name for that
we have elementary.
Yeah, elementary school, yes. Until my 12 or 13, and then I went to the ULO. That's some kind of not university, between elementary school and university. Well, it's a big gap. And then I studied in Groningen, and for being a manager of Walmart, something like that.
Okay.
Or a big shop. Well, it's completely not my thing.
Right.
So when I was 18, I was still studying there in Groningen, and then my father died, and my father was a military man, so he was very strict. I had to cut my hair. It was in the time when you grew your hair, but I wasn't allowed to grow my hair. And then I went to the barber and said, well, cut 1 centimeter off, and it cost 75 cents. And my father was satisfied for a week. And then the next week he said, well, you're going to the barber again. And, or otherwise, well, he beat me up, some kind of, we got punished.
Okay.
And when my father died, I gave up study. So I thought, well, my father isn't there anymore to keep me sharp and say, well, you have to study. My parents had to earn it with their hands. Okay. And I could learn. I had a good brain. Yeah. So you have to study, and then you can make money with your brain and not with your hands. Yeah, it's better.
Were either one of
more money.
Right? Were either one of your parents musically inclined at all? Either one of your parents?
A little bit. My father sang in a choir from a bicycle factory where he used to work, and my mother sang in in a band
Okay.
in the 40s, 1940, during the war a bit.
Mhm.
Both my parents were heavily involved in the resistance
Oh,
when Holland was occupied between 1940 and 1945.
mhm.
So the Americans liberated us, Europe.
Right.
And Leeuwarden, it was Canadians that liberated Leeuwarden. But we owe you guys a lot.
This is payback today,
Yeah.
huh? So what was some of the earliest music that you remember hearing when you were young?
I remember we didn't have a radio. We had some kind of public transmission unit in the house.
Mhm.
Where you could choose between 3 or 4 radio stations. It
Okay.
called radio distribution. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Okay, no.
That was in the 50s because people couldn't afford a radio to have a radio set.
Right.
So this was a cheap, organized by the government.
Okay.
And there was music on the radio, of course. There's always music on the radio.
Right.
And I remember dancing with my mother on a Dutch song, so you won't know that, when she held me when I was 4 or 5. So we danced through the room. I remember that very well.
Oh,
So
wow.
we heard always music playing,
Right.
always the radio, and later when we had a television set, we used to watch the Katrina Valente show. That's
Oh, yes, Katrina.
very, very well-known actress, singer from, I think, Germany.
Yeah.
And some of these, the Germans had big shows with lots of big orchestra and lots of vocalists. And Katrina Valente was one of the stars. And we used to watch all those shows.
Yes.
And and
She would sing. She would sing in quite a different few languages too. Katrina Valente.
Yeah. And later she did that with a guy, Katrina Valente and Nino Rossi. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
I remember that there were two people hosting the show then later on. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But when I was 12 or 13, 14, then I got interested in beat music and popular music. So through the radio, we had a small transistor radio, and my friend Piet Kok, you mentioned him.
Yeah.
He was my buddy. He played guitar. He had a pickup, and he got some money, and he could buy some singles. You know that small. And we used to play them at his house. They had a big, how do you call it, a stereo pickup with a radio and some big setup, you know, some piece of furniture, and the television. You could mount a television on top of it. I don't know. It's probably
like a console. Yeah.
A console. Yeah. And his first single was the first single of the Rolling Stones.
Oh, okay.
Buddy Holly, now Chuck Berry song.
Okay.
How do what was the name of that? No, it's very not. But then we listened to the transistor radio. We listened to the Veronica Top 40. It was a top 40 list every Saturday afternoon. So and we predicted which one, number 1 and number 2 and number 3, you know. And we really loved the Kings and the Hollies and the Who, all those the Yardbirds, all these English beat groups, and later the Beatles. But we also were very interested in people like Tim Buckley, and I was very interested in Frank Zappa, and bands like and groups like that. I think Zappa is a genius.
Oh, yeah.
In my opinion. And later on, Miles Davis and John McLaughlin and Jack Bruce and Cream. I think Jack Bruce is one of the best songwriters ever. And later, much later, Joni Mitchell. And before Joni Mitchell, I forgot Bob Dylan, of course.
Right.
We were very interested in Bob Dylan, and Pete was very interested in Donovan. The English.
Yes.
The English Bob Dylan, not really, but
Right.
I was very into Bob Dylan, and I remember buying his first album
Mhm.
with a cap, and a guitar like that.
Right.
It's called Bob Dylan, I think. Yeah, isn't it called
Yeah.
Bob Dylan?
Yeah.
Probably. No. And I bought it, but I didn't have any money. So I bought it at the shop, and I said, well, my mom is going to pay for it. So the guy said, all right. We knew each other. He said, no, okay. So a few weeks later, he came at our door to get the money for the album. It was 16 guilders 90 cents.
Okay.
But I didn't have it, and my mother didn't know I bought it.
Mhm.
So we had
Oh,
a big problem at home.
oh, okay.
Yeah, but I really wanted that album, and well, I went to school. I didn't have any money, so
Uh-huh.
I thought I'll just take it along and see what happens later on.
How did that get resolved? Did your mom end up paying for it, or
Well, yeah,
what?
she paid for it, but I had to pay it back doing all kinds of things in the house, peeling potatoes and cleaning the windows and all things like that.
You paid for it in the end, yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
we all pay for it in the end.
Right. Okay. Well, you're talking about
But
some
we,
of the
sorry,
Go ahead.
Greg, but we were also very interested through this little transistor radio. We could receive the BBC, and they
Ah,
used to have in the 60s Folk on Friday, a
oh,
very well-known folk program. And there we heard Bert Jens, John Ramborn, Pentangle, Davy Graham,
oh,
people like that, the English folk scene,
Fairport.
Martin Carthy, all the good guitar players, all the good guitar pickers. So that was very an eye-opener for us.
Yes, yes. And Fairport Convention, of course.
Later on, Fairport Convention, yes.
Later on, yes, exactly. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. So that's how you started getting into the whole folk scene.
And I remember now, Greg, sorry
Uh-huh.
for interrupting you,
No, no, that's fine.
there was a friend of mine, and he had a good job, so he could afford to buy. He bought albums weekly, on a weekly basis, and he bought this triple album called "The Will Circle Be Unbroken." 3
Ah,
albums with Doc Watson and all those really early country people on it.
yes.
You know
Yes.
Doc Watson, the blind guitar player?
Yes, the blind guitar player. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
very good guitar player. And
Yes.
Will Circle Be Unbroken is an American traditional, I think.
Yes. Yes. How about Davy Graham? Was
Yeah,
that? Yeah.
Angie.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah. I always like his style. I mean, he's
Yeah.
great.
Eclectic.
Yes. Yes. Very much. Very much so. So I see that you were just getting all, kind of really wrapped up in the folk scene and folk music. And I got into it a lot later in my life, but I'm glad I did. I like to ask this one sometimes. Was there a local a record store there close to you? Okay, that you would like to frequent go to?
Yeah, 2 or 3.
Okay, okay. And did they let you listen to the music? Was it
Yeah,
the one? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
very much.
I
No
like that.
problem. There was one shop that had booths,
Yeah, yeah.
with a pickup in it and small boxes. So we could take 3 or 4 albums and just go relax and sit and listen until the guy from the shop, he knew us. He knew that we're not going to buy any album because we didn't have any money. We went to school. So at a certain point, he came and opened the door for okay, it's not enough now. Put the albums back. We sat there for an hour and a half. It's way too long, of course. We weren't going to buy one. So, but yeah, there was another shop, and the owner had a record label, Universe label. You know the Universe label?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. And
Oh, okay. And he was the owner of that.
he owned a record shop.
Okay. Ah, okay.
And there he played the albums in the shop, so you could, then everyone could hear it. But if you wanted to listen to one album, he just put it on. So it sounded through the whole shop, but it was very nice. Everything was possible.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what was it? Universe? Yeah, that label, and also Philips. is a big one. Yeah,
Yeah, that's a big one. That's the big Philips in Eindhoven.
right, right. It actually began there in your neck of the woods. What, so talk about when you and Piet Kok began working together.
Well, we were in the same class
Okay.
on the ULO. So I failed 1 year, so I had to do 1 year over. How do you call that in English?
Yeah, failing. It's the same
Failing.
thing.
So and then Piet came. He sat beside me in the classroom. So and we discussed music, of course. Piet was also very interested in music. So
Right.
we exchanged. We had a piece of paper and we wrote down the who were in the Kings, Ray Davis, Dave Davis, and all that.
Yeah.
And then I put on the Who, and I gave the paper to Piet, and he filled in Pete Townsend, Roger Daltrey, and Mick. Nou ja, I don't know them anymore. So we kind of examined. We did little exams during the class. If we knew all the members of one band, we do the Stones and the Beatles are very everybody knows that, but Yardbirds and all that, you know, and Procol Harum, who was the lead singer of Procol Harum, Gary Brooker, and all that kind of thing, you know, some quiz.
Oh, it was a quiz, so you were testing each other.
Yeah, we were testing each other.
And meanwhile, you were not paying attention to the teacher at all. Yeah.
No. And still, we did a good exam.
Still, you did good.
Yeah.
There you go, back to your brain. You've got that. Yeah, that capacity up there.
Yeah.
Well, so you guys worked together. Was Hello your first organized band?
Yeah.
And what you had, like one single that was
Home in the Sky.
Okay, right.
A song by Mike Herron from the Incredible String Band.
Yes.
You know the Incredible String Band?
Yes, I do. Yes, the Scottish band. Yes, the folk band.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So
Really bunch of hippies.
Yes, you're right. Very much so. Yeah. And that carried over. Go ahead.
I saw them once perform in Leeuwarden.
Okay.
And they played for an hour and they tuned for 3/4 of an hour. I think they played 2 or 3 songs and the rest was tuning. He had all kind of bizarre instruments and well, and everybody sat quiet on their.
You guys were real polite and waiting, right?
We thought, well, they're strange songs.
Right. Oh, okay.
The Dubliners used to. We once performed with the Dubliners. You know the Dubliners?
Dubliners, yes.
And they had to tune between songs also, and they called that a Chinese song called tuning.
Okay.
They said, we're gonna play a song now that's called, it's a Chinese song called tuning. So they started tuning their instruments. You get it? No.
Oh, okay, now I get it. Tuning. Tuning. Okay, did that just miss a lot of people? Probably they didn't understand that.
I remember that. I remember them saying that between songs.
Tuning.
The Chinese song called tuning.
Oh, that's funny. So was that over in where did you play with them, with the Dubliners? Where was that?
Oh, that was our first big concert with Fungus in Sittard. Sittard in Limburg is the province of Holland. Okay. Way south.
Okay. Okay. Did that go over pretty well?
Yeah, it was very nice. And after that, we played the Pink Pop Festival. That was the same year.
Yes, I was going to ask
74.
you about that. Yeah. And that is, I didn't realize that, but Pink Pop is the oldest annual pop festival in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had no idea. So it's been around
quite a while.
Yeah. And still going today, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think since 1970 was the first one, 1970.
Okay. That's something else, yeah. And it usually draws a large crowd, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of people go to those.
Yeah.
Do you like playing outdoor festivals or indoors better?
Well, I don't play that much outdoor festivals and indoor festivals also. No,
Over
I
the
don't.
years. Yeah, over the years.
Well, it doesn't. Well, indoor in a nice setting is better because I play. People have to listen to my music.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And if you're really on an outdoor festival, yeah, people come for conversation with each other. Hey, oh yeah, nice, and I have a beer and all that. No problem, but not for my music. It's not, my music is not suited for that kind of festival.
Right.
With Fungus or something else, because we play a lot of instrumentals, like Scottish jigs and reels, you know that, and people started dancing, and oh well, that was very. We were very. Went very well on the big festivals, but not playing my own music. What I do now, I sing in Dutch, and well, singer-songwriter in Dutch is what I do now. So yeah, small venues and small theaters, and at people's home, you know, really nice.
Yes, I went to one here last summer. That was one of those. It was just at a person's home. He had a little studio out back, and it was only 25 people. Very intimate, but I really enjoyed that, and so did the performer. Really, yeah. I think
that's what I do most now.
Okay, I think that, yeah, like you said, it's more conducive to your style.
Yeah,
definitely. Well, we'll talk about the formation of Fungus. And how you guys got together, and what kind of influences everybody brought to the band.
Okay. Fungus, I live in the north of Holland. In Leeuwarden is in Friesland is the north part of Holland. Fungus is situated around Rotterdam, Vlaardingen. That's in the south of Holland. So we didn't know each other. I played in Farmers Union with Piet Kok, a 4-piece band. I played electric guitar in that band, was 69, 70. So that was not was a bit uncommon playing electric guitar in a folk group. Everything should be acoustic in a folk group. At that time, we had Fairport Convention in England in 67 or 66, 67 when they started. They already played electric instruments, but in Holland it was not very common to do so. But I played electric guitar, a white Fender Stratocaster, like Jimi Hendrix had.
Well, speaking of, let's go back to that. I missed that part about Farmers Union.
Yeah.
Let me see if I pronounce this correctly. Frisian.
Yeah.
The Frisian peoples, and describe Frisian folk music.
Yeah, but we didn't sing in the Frisian language.
Okay.
There is a Frisian language, and in Holland we have the Dutch language and the Frisian language.
Okay.
But I played with Piet already, and then we met Lidwien, the girl singer, and Nana Kalma. He played in a really bit of heavy rock band, Cube's Place. They released one album, a bit like the English Genesis and Yes.
More progressive.
Yes. Complicated rock music.
Yeah.
So, and he stopped with that. The band stopped, and he wanted to play folk music. So we came together, the 4 of us, and we formed Farmers Union.
Okay.
And we recorded a cassette, a demo cassette, and our manager, well, there wasn't email or MP3 or everything like that. So we used to send cassette tapes to all the venues where we wanted to, we wanted to play in theaters and venues and youth centers, you know, at schools, universities. So we sent these cassettes around, and we played, our material was English traditional music and a few American traditional songs. We didn't write our own material. I wrote some songs and we did those, but almost every song was a traditional song. And we arranged it in our way with the instruments we had and the vocal capacities of us. We arranged it in our style, but it was very much like Pentangle and Verbal Convention and Stylized Pen and groups like that. You know them very well now.
Yeah.
So, but then we had we had some gigs, but we had a Ford Transit van, you know. But we had an accident near Amsterdam in a tunnel. So the van was a total loss. So that stopped, and Piet got sick, very sick. So he couldn't play anymore. So Farmers Union, well, it kind of died out. How do you call that?
Yeah.
It disappeared slowly. But in the meantime, our manager had sent those cassette tapes around Holland. And Fungus was already playing a few years, already existed. And Tom Steenbergen, the manager of Fungus, also worked at the Toverbal, which was a youth center in Maassluis. It's near Vlaardingen, near Rotterdam.
Okay.
And he heard a tape, and he heard me play electric guitar. And he said, "Whoa, we need an electric guitar player," because the Fungus was a trio, 3 men, and one of them left. One of the 3 left for study, and they were looking for an electric bass player and an electric guitar player. And I played electric guitar on that cassette. So Tom rang to Sjoerd, our manager. And so I took the train and traveled to Rotterdam with my guitar. And we had we played together with the two other guys of Fungus and a new bass player, Koos. So, and that's how Fungus was created. And they already had a record deal.
Yeah.
And they had 1 single out, "Farewell to Tawati," the Scottish song about fishing.
Yes. That's a great rendition, I was going to say, of the song that they did, that they did before you, right?
Yeah.
So
with studio musicians.
Yes. Oh, with studio musicians. Okay. All right. Yeah. That's a great cover. That is I like that.
Yeah.
So they liked what they heard when you had the rehearsal. They liked you and your style.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the 4 of us got together, and Fred Piek was the lead singer, and they already had material for an album.
Okay.
So we arranged that further. I had my input, Koos, the bass player, had his input. We really worked together, the 4 of us, and then we went to the studio and recorded it. One side of the album with English songs, and the other side with Dutch songs. So it was very nice.
Right. Hopefully to reach out to a larger audience too, right? I mean, with that, exactly.
And we had a little hit single called Kaperen Varen.
I was going to ask you about how to pronounce it. Kaperen Varen. Okay. I like the video for that. I think it was fun. It must have been fun making that, because you guys are kind of like goofing around during the video, being silly.
Oh, it's in a museum.
Okay.
In Enkhuizen, ship museum. Okay. I remember it.
Okay. Now that's roughly translated as cape sailing. Is that right?
No, to caper is some like pirates do.
Okay.
Robbing and looting and raping women and all that kind of stuff. What pirates do. Pirates of the Caribbean.
Right.
But then on the North Sea in bad weather.
Okay. So that's the subject matter there.
Yeah.
What the song was about. Okay. All right.
And the verses go. It's also a whaling song, to go hunt the whale. Like the Farewell to Tawati is a whaling song also.
Right. Right. It is. You're right. And I enjoy those kind of songs. The like you said about the whales and about the oceans and about the seas, those
Yeah,
traditional. Those are some of the best folk songs
yeah.
as well. Yes. Yes.
Sea shanties.
Yes. Exactly right. Sea shanties. Yes.
Well, up until I think 1950, we in Holland still had a big ship, an industrial ship, which went for hunting the whale for the oil and all that kind of. And they made soap out of the whale fat, I believe. Well, this is Kaperenvaren. Al die willen te kaperen varen, moeten mannen met baarden zijn. Allee met ons de walrus killen, moeten mannen met baarden zijn. Jan, Piet, Joris en Corneel, die hebben baarden, die hebben baarden. Ze varen mee. Al die deftig een pijpken smoren, moeten mannen met baarden zijn. Al die ranzige tweebaklusten, moeten mannen met baarden zijn. Jan, Piet, Joris en Corneel, die hebben baarden, die hebben baarden. Ze varen mee. Spuiter aan de horizon, harpoen slaat in de zeekleurt rood. Ligt zijn handen op het dek, sierlijk zwom hij voor de schaar. Koning van de oceaan. Log ligt het pakbeest op het dek. De stank van blubber, rot en traan. De stank van blubber, rot en traan. Al die wil te kaperen varen, moeten mannen met baarden zijn, baarden zijn.
We'll talk about oh, this song. I'm not going to try to pronounce it, but in English it's Rich Farmer.
Ja,
Right?
ja, rijke boer.
Okay.
Rijke boer.
Right? You do the R like that?
Rijke boer.
Rijkelboot.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that song a lot.
Mhm.
That's a great song. Who wrote that
Thank
one?
you.
Yeah.
It's a traditional.
Oh, it's another tradition.
It's a Dutch traditional song.
Okay. Okay.
We have not very much original traditional songs in Holland, really Dutch songs, because mainly they come from Germany, and you have a high hoompa hoompa hoompa, you know.
Yeah. Right.
But
The
it's
polka, like a polka kind of.
yeah, like yeah, polka.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very difficult to find really original Dutch songs which have not been influenced or translated from German or from English. So it's very hard to find, and there are not very many.
Right. 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 Well, you talked about the English songs that were on there. Irish Girl is probably my favorite one on the album.
Mhm.
Um, and I like the songs that you guys did with more of a rock sound, folk rock,
Mhm.
not so much the traditional folk sound, but the more, rock influence.
Yeah.
So that Irish Girl is a really nice one too. We talked about Farewell to Tarawati, Farewell to Whiskey. I know that's another traditional,
Yeah.
but you guys did a good rendition
Yeah.
of that too. Yeah.
Well,
Yes, yes. And the whole album is really solid.
yeah.
Yeah, and then the Richard Thompson Fairport Poor Ditching Boy, that cover. That's I like his version, but you guys did well on that one too.
We did it together with Richard Thompson.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah, we played it together at a festival in Rotterdam.
Oh, I like a lot of his solo material too. He's
Mhm.
really, really talented. What he did
He's,
after Fairport.
he's
Yeah.
one of the best guitar players
Yes, he is.
in the world.
Yes, he is.
Yeah,
Ah,
he never a dull moment.
right.
He never repeats. He never repeats what he already has done. I mean, he's very original, inventive. I like
Right.
his contributions with the Sandy Denny albums.
Yeah,
Really,
that's the best. I think that's their best years with the earlier with Sandy.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
I
so
think
so.
Sandy is one of the best voices in folk
Yes,
music,
he is.
and maybe in pop music also.
Yes, I agree. That's sad how she passed away
Yeah.
so young too. On 1975's Leaf on the Leaf on the Lead. Is that right? Leaf on the Lead.
Leaf
Close.
and the Light. Yeah, yeah.
Leaf on the Lead. Leaf on
Leaf
the
and the
Light.
Light. Yeah.
Leaf on the Light. Okay. Um, Sweet and Lead. Is that close? Sweet and Lead. It translate.
It's I think it's Leaf and Light. It's well, if you're going to marry, you have to. How do you call that man that marries you?
Oh yeah, the preacher.
The preacher. Oh, well, he lets you pronounce. You have to support your wife or your man or your husband in
Right.
good times, bad times.
Right. Right.
How do you say that?
Okay, so so like sweet and sour.
Yeah,
He like
sweet and
the
sour.
opposite. Okay.
Yeah. Very
Okay.
well.
There we go. Okay. Okay. The good and the bad. Okay.
Yeah, the good and the bad.
Got you. Got you. Okay. See, this is a learning lesson for me, which is why I'm glad that we're talking. I'm picking up on some of this. What on that 75 album? What did you contribute? You didn't play as much on that one as you did on the.
No, I already quit Fungus.
Uh-huh.
I kept living here in Leeuwarden, so we had not by American standards, but I had to travel a lot. I mean,
right.
I think Americans think that Holland is a province of Europe and not a separate country. You know what I mean?
Right, I understand.
And English bands, when they come to Holland and we say, "Wow, we have to travel 200 kilometers," they say, "Well, you come to England and Go from London to Edinburgh, then you have travel, or come to America and travel from Dallas to whatever. And then you're 5 or 6 or 7 hours is nothing.
Right.
So
right.
if we have to travel in Holland 2 hours, we say, wow, whoa, all the way to all the way to Limburg.
Right. Well, it's what you're used to. That's all it is.
Yeah.
I mean, you grow up there, so that is a long ways for
Yeah,
you.
that's a long. Yeah, it's a long. So in the end, we played an awful lot of gigs. We did a lot of gigs and a lot of in the Fungus, the first Fungus album time, especially with a single Kapervaar. It was very television, radio, newspapers, and 6 or 7 gigs in a week. And we had one roadie who did the sound, so we all had to carry the cases and the guitars and build up the amps and break down and put it in the van and go to another place, you know. And I don't use drugs. We all so at a certain point, I thought, well, this is too hard, and we weren't creative anymore. It was just playing the songs and what people wanted to hear and go to the next gig. But we still had a contract with a record company, so they wanted a new album and they wanted a new single and they wanted the same success as Kapervaar had. Well, that's impossible to do.
Right.
So I couldn't cope anymore. And what I said, I lived 200 kilometers away from the other guys. And we had a place where a rehearsal place, some kind of garage, and they made me a bed there. So I slept there between the instruments, you know. For a few, if it's 1 or 2 times, it's not very. But if you have to sleep every night or so, it's too.
It's not comfortable.
No, it's not very comfortable. It's uneasy and no.
No.
So I thought after 1.5 years, well, I have to find something else.
Right. Well,
So
what was one of the strangest gigs that you ever played? Either by yourself, solo, or with a band. One of the oddest or strangest gigs.
Now with the band we played in Leiden at Minerva. That's the students. That's a university in Leiden, and the students. Yeah, how do you call it? We call it a corps, corps.
Yeah.
And they had their own building, their own venue, and it was terrible. People were so drunk. And it was all glass on the floor.
Really?
And, we had our sound man Case. They intimidated him. They wanted to do this to do the sound themselves. You know, it was not very nice. So we almost had a fist fight there over there, and that's
really?
one of the most terrible gigs I ever played.
Oh, yeah, that would not bode very well, and I would, not look back on that, but there very much fondness at all.
No, and that's, well, that's the people who are now politicians and doctors and all that kind of people, you know.
Right. It's strange how things changed over those years, right? You know.
And I played once in Hilversum, a solo gig, where a junkie put a fire hose on me.
Why?
Yeah, stoned out of his mind. And I played electric guitar, so it was kind of dangerous also.
Yeah.
He could have electrocuted me.
Right.
With a fire hose, you know.
Yeah. So he just thought that was funny.
Yeah, big fun.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, luckily you didn't get electric. No. Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think made Fungus so popular in your homeland? What were some of the reasons you think?
Well, I think because it was new.
Okay.
It was really new. Nobody had ever heard that kind of music in Holland. Well, they knew for a big audience. They weren't familiar with folk music. There's of course there's some folk movement in Holland also, but it was very small folk movement, and it was really traditional, really acoustic. So they didn't like what we did. The real folk people, the real folkies, didn't like what we did, because we played electric, we didn't play acoustic. We arranged the songs, but you have to play them originally.
Right. It's
Probably
the backlash that Bob Dylan experienced when he went electric too.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the true pure folkies hated that. Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody called me Judas in Holland.
That's
But
good.
we had the same, the same difference between audiences. But when they started playing it on the radio, on FM radio, well, then it grew bigger and bigger and bigger, and it came in the charts, you know, and that gave it a big boost. So the album also sold very good. And then you play the bigger gigs. Then we played the Pinkpop Festival, and the Pinkpop Festival used to be on one day.
Okay.
And now it's 3 days, but it used to be one day, and there was only one Dutch group, one Dutch artist, one Dutch band. So in 1974, it was Fungus. So there was a lot of attention, a lot of media attention, because what's the Dutch group playing at Pinkpop? It was the biggest festival in Holland. Yeah, and well, we played there, and that drew a lot of attention. And well, when you've played a big festival like that, then the other gigs come. And it has a big effect if you play a big festival where 40,000 people come. So all the youth centers and all the theaters wanted Fungus the year following, you know. So we had a very busy schedule.
Yeah. Well, that was how I was first turned on to you, was through Fungus, was that for, 74 album. Like I said, just a really solid, and the instrumentation on there from everybody. What I like is, what made it different was, there's that folk slant, but then there's the rockier stuff, and then some of the sounds that were melded and formed into the songs. You didn't even hear those on other folk rock, from the English side. No. It was really unique, unique, and made a great sound.
Thank you.
Yes. Do you still to this day, do you still get email from old fans or maybe new fans?
Yeah, now new fans, certainly. I'm on Facebook now, and in 1996 I started my second career, could call it that. And everywhere where I came to play on a gig, oh, you played in Fungus. Oh yes, the album, the green one, Kapervaart. And up to until now, if I have a gig, there's always one or two people. Well, I saw you at the Pinkpop Festival. I saw you there and there. It's a long-term investment.
Right. Could be for your whole life. Exactly.
Yeah. And I still get a little bit of money copy from what was it called in what we have in Holland. Copyright.
Royalty.
Yeah, royalties. Yeah.
Royalties. Yeah.
Still some money from Kapervaart.
Oh, still coming in from that.
Still coming in.
Well,
what if you have a million seller? What if you have a million seller and still receive money from it? Oh.
Right. Enough to pay some bills, huh? That's right. That's what I hear. Well, some of the from your early solo albums, one of the songs I really like is "How Cruel Reigns the Sea" from Land and Water. Yeah, I think that's a really quality song, and again with the sea, the subject of the sea, on that. So I think that's another really nice track is Pisces, another one from your earlier material. And
how I wrote that?
How?
The title track?
How?
I went cycling. And then I can't read music, I can't write music, so I have to remember it. So I took a cassette recorder with me on the bike, and then when I had some melody in my head. I stopped and I recorded it.
Ah,
That's how
okay.
Pisces. That's how I made Pisces.
Yeah, that's something. I hear from other people too, how the inspiration comes just out of nowhere sometimes.
Yeah.
You'll just be like walking or like you said,
Yeah.
maybe running or bicycling.
Yeah.
And yeah, you need to have something there,
Yeah.
with you. Now we have the
Now
phone.
you have your iPhone.
Yeah, your phone, you can just,
Yeah.
into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But back then, yeah, you had to have
You had to have a good memory.
right, or something to write with. That's good. Well, and then do you recall In the Morning from 1, 2, 3? That's another one that I really like. I like those kind of songs about early morning throughout history. I watched. Are you a fan of Gordon Lightfoot? Is
I
that
know him. Yeah. In the
yeah,
early morning rain, isn't that Gordon Lightfoot?
right. Speaking of morning, yeah,
Yeah.
another one. It gives you those images of like waking up, sun's coming up or whatever. Yeah, it's nice. You talked about Pink Pop. Uh, Also, I wanted to ask you about this. Okay, so you were in Farmers Union before Fungus.
Yeah.
Okay. But then there's the album Reunion from
Yeah.
79. Was that earlier material or was it recorded in 79?
It was recorded in 79.
Okay.
Because the band stopped because of the accident and because of the illness of Piet. So
Right.
the band stopped, it faded away.
Mhm.
And this guy from Universe, who owned a record shop in Leeuwarden, Robert Versailles, he founded the Universe, the label, and he said, well, I still want to record those songs. So in 79, that happened. So we
Okay.
got together in 79 and recorded that album.
Reunion.
Farmers Reunion, it's called.
Yeah. So it was kind of a reunion.
It really was a reunion.
It really was. Well, I must
No
say,
marketing trick.
I must say, Love Song is beautiful.
Mhm.
That track on there, and that's one that you wrote.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
But it's not very good. It's not a very good recording. We had to do it very in one day, and there wasn't much time to do the mixing. I'm not
Okay.
we were not very satisfied with the final result, the way
Okay.
it sounds.
Okay.
But we recorded it.
Yeah.
It's there.
Are the other members still around?
Yeah.
Maybe has there ever been talk about like re-recording or getting back together and doing those, mastering those?
No.
Material?
I don't think the tapes are. I don't think the
Okay.
tapes are there anymore.
Okay.
No, speaking for myself, I'm not very fond of reunions and getting together again and trying to achieve the atmosphere of then and
Right.
there.
Right. I can understand that.
Yeah, it's never going to be the same.
Right. You're right. Yeah, it won't. You can't recapture that.
No. I cherish the memory.
Right.
But and make new. No, we tried with Fungus several times, but no, it's too long ago. And what you say, you can't recapture it. No, it's not.
Right.
It most of the time it's a disappointment.
Yeah, exactly. I know so many bands that have tried to do that. You're right, and sometimes it doesn't work out. It's not. No, it's not.
And it happens a lot just for money, for money's sake.
Right.
If the bills are too high.
Right.
Wow, we're gonna have a reunion.
Right, that's good. And what is it? The Who? How many have they had? And I was like, this is our last one.
Yeah.
You said that last time.
Final tour.
Right. That's funny. Well, why did you drop out of the music business and stop recording after 1980?
Well, when I was in Fungus, we had a producer called Roy Beltman. He produced the albums, the Fungus albums, and I wrote a lot of material then. And because Fungus wanted to keep on doing Dutch stuff, and I wrote in English then, So it wasn't very well, didn't match.
Right.
But Roy Beltman, the producer, I sent him some tapes, some cassettes with demos of my songs. He said, "Well, I really like it, and well, if you want, you can make a solo album." So I got a record company with the same company we had with Fungus, Negram, and the same label manager and the same producer. So I got the chance to make a solo album, and that was Land and Water. Land en Water. It's the same in Dutch as in English. So,
Okay.
So I recorded that with the fantastic Louis de Bay, the drummer, and the record company said, "Well, you know this guy Mike Oldfield in England? He plays all the instruments himself. Well, maybe that's something you can do too." Well, I thought I had then probably I would have the same success as Mike Oldfield. No. But I found it a challenge, so I played a lot of. Well, I played mandolin. I played all the string instruments, and Louis de Bay, the Fungus drummer, he played the drums. But it was fun. But it didn't work out as the record company had thought. Okay. Because I know Mike Oldfield had a 24-track recorder at his home for half a year, for 6 months or so. And I had to do it in 3 days and 2 mix days, 3 recording days and 2 mix days. So in 5 days, I had to make a complete album. And if the bass part didn't work, well, Sido, you try the guitar. And that doesn't work. Well, I have to play the mandolin. Well, let's try the vocals. It was still me. It was all the time me. It was my solo album. I played all the instruments myself. So
right. Right. So
I had a slight burnout.
Yes, I could see that. Yeah. So
but it was well received in Holland.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah, it was well received. I sold about 1,500. It was good for somebody like me. And in Belgium they had a release of it too.
Okay.
So I did some gigs in Belgium. It was very nice.
Okay. So it was well received there too. Did you get any feedback from anywhere else? Any other countries or?
No other countries. No. In Belgium they released it on the bestsellers label. So
okay,
that's a nice name to have.
I was gonna say.
Bestsellers label.
Yeah, but then there's that high what do you call it, expectation if you're on that label. To be big, to hit it big, right?
I couldn't make up to that expectation.
To their expectations. We'll talk about how did you get involved with the running magazines? Have you been a runner yourself?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, but I made Land in Water in 76.
Okay.
I don't know. And then I had my record company said, well, that didn't work out. They had 2 singles from the album, Merlin's Melody, and well, you can still make another album. We gave it another try. They were very kind to me, and then I recorded Pisces, and that didn't work. So I still wrote new songs, and this guy from Universe, Wobbe, who had a record shop in Leeuwarden from the early days on, and he had this Universe label. He said, "Well, you can still make an album. I'll put it on my label, on Universe, in cooperation with Philips."
Okay.
So he had a distribution deal with Philips. So I recorded 1, 2, 3 is ABC 1, 2, 3, the yellow, blue. You know the album? Album? Yeah, you saw a picture of it probably.
Yeah.
Well, that went so. And then I realized, well, why do I sing in English? Why do I write English lyrics? I'm Dutch, so why my Dutch is so much better than my English. I can express myself much better in Dutch, in my native language, which is true, of course. So I started writing in Dutch, and in 1980. Philips had a small label for starting, a bit alternative bands.
Okay.
It's called a backdoor label.
Okay.
Yeah, through the back door you come to the main entrance. And I recorded Nooit Genoeg, the Dutch in Dutch. I recorded it myself on an 8-track, a Tascam 8-track recorder, and mixed it in the studio. And they put it out. It's called Nooit Genoeg, Never Enough, in English.
Was that your first time working on an 8-track?
Yeah.
Okay. How did you enjoy that as opposed?
Yeah, very much.
Yeah, yeah.
I
So
had a
much more you can
Teyak
do.
88. You know that Teyak?
I've
You
heard
know
of that. Yep.
Yeah. It's a very nice machine. Last year I bought it back from the guy I sold it to.
Oh,
It's
okay.
still working.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah. And I bought it in 79.
Wow.
Still
And it's
working.
still working. Wow.
Mechanics, mechanics, like an old car. There's a lot of mechanics and not all digital things.
Yeah. Have you had to do any maintenance to it at all?
Yeah, it's just a normal maintenance.
Okay.
A bit of oil and
Oh, okay.
yeah, it's still working. It's
Very
in use. And I used to record lots of groups with the 8-track recorder.
Mhm.
And make a lot of demos for bands around Leeuwarden and do live recordings for bands.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's very nice.
We'll talk about your involvement with the running magazines. You were submitting fiction stories, right? Is that what you were doing? Okay.
Yeah, I'm not, also normal. I went to running. How do you call that? Races. I went to running races, marathons and half marathons, and I interviewed a lot of athletes for the magazine, and I wrote stories.
Okay. All right.
This
They
was
were
very
always
nice.
they were always centered around running and
Yeah.
marathons and that kind of thing. Okay, so
Yeah.
you enjoyed doing that? You enjoyed that work?
Yeah, because when the 1980 album, the Nooit Genoeg, when it was not successful,
Right.
I ended up stopping with. I was so frustrated about that. I was so frustrated that I couldn't. I couldn't cope with not having success.
Right.
So I stopped with all music activities.
Okay.
So I didn't play guitar anymore. I didn't sing anymore. I didn't perform anymore. So that, and then I started running.
Okay.
To get to lose my frustration.
Okay.
I really was depressed in that period. It was a depressing time for me.
Right. Right.
How do you call that?
You
Relativity. I couldn't.
you had kind of withdrawals too, didn't you? Like, you were doing it for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you weren't successful, and it's having to stop doing that because it's hard. And it's in your blood like that. Musicians' blood. It's hard to stop doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's something that's in your spirit and your soul, and it needs to come out.
Yeah, and then I think it's my fault for not being
Right.
successful.
Right.
I couldn't think. Well, you do. Yeah. Well, it's so relative.
Right.
Relativity.
Right.
How
To
do you
that time
call it?
period. Yeah, to that time period. Yeah.
Yeah.
Relative. Yes, it's all relative. Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Right. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well,
I ended up being depressed, and it took me about 15 or 16 years to finally pick the guitar up again and start playing and making songs.
Right. Well, you were probably harder on yourself than anybody else, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like we talked about in the beginning, being critical of your, which is good. It has its good side. You're probably a bit of a perfectionist, right? Yeah. Yeah. I think that runs through a lot of musicians. Yeah. Yeah, you have to be. I think you don't want to put out a bad product, or
It's never good enough. It's never good enough.
never good enough.
It can always be better.
Right. So do you have songs that you've written that you want to go back, you'd like to go back and redo and say, improve on?
No, that's what I told you. I have the same with reunion with a band.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
look forward and not backwards. So
Right.
then I start. Well, I'm satisfied about some songs,
Mhm.
but I think, well, I could still, maybe I'll write a better one, and maybe I'll try this one, and I try this and that, and I don't redo songs.
Okay. Okay.
I'd rather write something new.
Yeah.
Try to write something new, and maybe better, with another feeling, with another atmosphere,
Right.
with
Do you,
different
have,
input.
do you have any songs that you've written that you don't feel are completely finished? You know?
I think you're never finished.
Okay.
The moment I had an album last year, in December, November, December. I put it out. I do it on my own now. I don't have a record company. I just I have a small studio here,
Yeah, there you go.
and well, all in the digital, you can record with your iPhone if you want to. So it's so easy.
Uh-huh.
It's so practical, everything.
Yeah.
And so I recorded here at home, and I ask a violin player or a singer, and they come here and we record it, and I can do it in my own time, on my own terms. And when I think, well, I've got 15, 16 songs, well, and I go to the studio, and then we mix it, and then I put it out,
Right.
and
Cool.
I sell some 100, 150 CDs, and I'm satisfied.
Yeah. There you go.
I don't have to prove anything.
Right. Right. Exactly.
And then that's what frustrated me in the beginning, in the 1980s. I thought I had to prove something to myself. Well, that's crazy.
Right.
Just do what you do, and let it flow.
Right.
I'm my own critic, and
Worst critic, right? Yeah.
yeah.
Well, let the chips fall where they may, like they say. Yeah.
Well, that's a nice one. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the only way to keep a fresh head, to keep your mind together.
Probably some of that is maturing, growing older, right?
Agree.
You're not as high strung probably as you were when you were younger. We'll talk
I
about.
learned my lesson also.
There you go. There you go.
I learned my lesson. It almost cost me my relation, my marriage, and well, that's not worth it.
Right. Right. Exactly.
You have to bend with a storm. How do you call it? We have a nice saying in Dutch.
Yeah. Go with the flow. Kind of.
Yeah, go with the flow. Yeah, that's a go with the flow, with your own flow. Let it flow.
Let it flow. Let it flow. Eric Clapton. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I heard that so much, you hear about history throughout music and popular music, bands that, touring constantly, and then some of the band members have families, and it takes you away from your families, and especially if you have like young son, daughter, that kind of stuff, it's really hard. And then you find, members that say, I've got to stop, because the family is utmost importance, you want to keep that. So yeah, there's a lot of that. Well, go back to 2001s. I want to hear about this. Let me see if I can pronounce it. De P of Klant. De P of Klant.
De Pofklant.
De
Pofklant.
De Pofklant.
Pofklant.
Pofklant. Pofklant. See, the pronunciation thing on the internet is not always right, because it was saying De P of Klant. De P. Okay.
Well, it's a sort of payoff.
Okay. Puff customer. Puff customer.
Yeah. If you the Pofklant is somebody who, that's what I did when I bought the Bob Dylan album and I didn't have money.
Okay. Right. Yeah.
So if you buy by postal order. How do you that's big in the States, of course, because of the distance. You could order a Martin guitar and the postman would deliver it,
Right.
and you pay it
Through Amazon, whatever.
yeah, now through Amazon, but
Yeah.
my mother used to buy clothes for us, but she couldn't afford to pay it. We couldn't afford to pay the rent right at the time, so we paid an amount every week. So there came a guy with a small book, and he pay five guilders, and the next week we pay 5 guilders. My mother paid 5 guilders. So in the end, we paid the whole bill, and that's a bit what Pofklant means.
Okay. Okay.
You buy things. Yeah, I don't know how you call it in English.
Kind of like on credit, a little bit.
Yeah, on credit, and every week you pay a small amount.
Okay. So the album was financed.
Yeah.
Through a few.
Through 100 people, and 100 people paid 100 guilders.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
about $50.
Okay. Okay.
So they said, well, I support Sido, and I pay him $50. So in the end, he has a nice amount of money, so he can rent a studio and pay his musicians and make an album.
Right.
That's what happened.
Okay. Well, that was nice. You had those fans that were so supportive like that.
They supported me.
Yeah.
It was a crowdfunding.
Yes. There you go. Well,
Yeah.
that must have made you feel good. Yeah.
Yeah. It was really nice.
Yeah.
It was really nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you still in contact with any of those fans?
Yeah.
Today? Yeah.
Yeah.
Still?
There are still people supporting me.
Yeah.
And still some of the people show up at my CD releases. Mostly about 50, 60 people. I have a new crowdfunding now running for a new album this year. So I make an album almost every year, which is kind of tiring for fans. Another one? Wow! I didn't even listen to the first.
The last one. You've been
last one.
Prolific as you've gotten older. You're doing that. But you're still enjoying it. That's the key. You know.
Yeah.
You know.
And they're still coming, and the songs are still coming.
Still coming to you, right?
Yeah.
That may be a lifelong process too.
Yeah.
What looking back on your solo albums, what are some of the fan favorites? The favorites from some of the fans.
Could you repeat that?
Oh,
sorry.
Sure. Looking back on your solo albums, what are some of the fan favorites? Your fans' favorites albums?
Oh, the fans' favorites, songs or albums?
Albums. Both. You can do both.
I don't really know.
Okay.
There's one song. I tell you honestly, I don't even remember the titles of the albums.
Yeah.
There's one song that very many people like. It's about growing older.
Okay.
And the song is called. I'm very bad at my own songs remembering.
It's called Senility.
No.
You
Dementia.
Growing older. I'm just kidding.
No, I don't know the title of the song. I know the song. Well, I played it at the funeral of one of the fans.
That's
because,
okay.
well, it's a nostalgic song, and nostalgia always works well because everybody recognizes the pattern.
Yes, right.
Growing older, your youth is behind you, and what's next?
Right, right.
What can we expect? Is there still something to come?
Yeah. Well,
I don't know. I hate it when I can come up with the title of the song.
That's okay. What about your personal? What about some of your personal favorite songs and albums? Yours?
I don't have, no, that I
No?
think that's, I have made a translation of White Shade of Pale. I
Okay.
made my own lyrics on it. But
Okay.
then when I do a gig, I say, this is the melody of White Shade of Pale, Procol Harum. And I
Mhm.
made my own lyrics on it. I didn't translate the song to Dutch, but I made my own lyrics on it. And then I play it and people say, well, I didn't recognize a White Shade of Pale in it. So I transformed the melody also. But that's a
Okay.
song I really like because I really feel very much connected with the lyrics.
Yeah.
I feel connected with all my lyrics because I wrote them. So
Right.
there's a connection. But that song to me is very personal and very dear to me.
Yeah. Well, I like that when someone redoes a song, even with the lyrics, and makes the melody even a little bit different. I think that's nice. Maybe it's your take on it. It's
Yeah,
what you, yeah,
I don't copy it.
right, exactly, exactly.
We, we,
There's too many copies, yeah, that are just almost exactly the same, and that doesn't do much for me.
no, there was a Frisian project in Frisian singing Leonard Cohen songs,
Oh, okay,
and I did the Partisan. Do you know that
okay,
one?
yeah, yeah,
I did that in Frisian. Uh, there were some writers who translated the Cohen songs into Frisian, and I sang the Partisan in Frisian. So and I molded the song to me
uh-huh.
uh, with a with an accordion player. It was very nice, and I played it at concerts also, and people ask for it because
Okay,
that album sold really well. Was in 2008 with a DVD and a CD, and it sold over 20,000 copies. And that in Holland, that's a lot.
that's a lot, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I really got very nice reactions on that song. So that was in Frisian.
Yeah. Well, see, did you, a lot of people probably didn't recognize it as a Leonard Cohen song, it doing it in the Frisian and, your style like that.
Hmm.
And there were some probably, like you said, that did pick up on it. I think that's interesting.
Yeah, and because it appealed to me because it's about resistance in the Second World War, and my parents were in the resistance also. So it was really close to me. I felt really connected with the lyrics and the song, so I tried to make it my own
Right,
in a way.
right, exactly. I think, yeah, great songs and songwriters, they're going to reach across the boundaries. There are really no boundaries. They're going to reach, people in all nations and all over the world, the great music and the great songwriters. So because they talk about truth and they talk about, you know, reality, and
Yeah,
they talk, what we all experience, no matter where we come from. So that's always what I think. To me, I mean, music to me is the highest art form. Yeah,
hmm,
I've always felt that, and I'm not a musician myself, but I admire, yourself and other musicians for what your craft and what you produce, and the whole songwriting process and all of that. So do you prefer that, the composing of the music, than to the playing live?
now I like playing live, but I like composing. To grab something out of the air and suddenly it's there, a melody and some lyrics. Uh, I like recording, but not as much as I like creating the song.
Right, right. Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah, because if you record a song, it's just that moment. If half an hour later, I can play the song in a different way, slightly different way.
Hmm, hmm.
And the other week, and then a week later, I can play the song with a whole different tempo, and it's organic. The song is organic.
Yes,
It differs from the mood you're in, and the people that are around you. When I play live, I play songs totally different than I have recorded them,
Right.
and that I find that very interesting.
How about your fans? Do they like that too?
Well, yeah, they accept they accept it. They know. Well, the few real fans I have, they know how I work, because they that's what, if you have a small fan base, you really get to know each other.
Right.
So if I have a CD release, and well, there's always 50, 60 the same people, and there's all 10 or 20 new people. So that's interesting, because you have contact with them and you say, hey, I didn't see you last time. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Oh, that's nice. So I like that, and having a conversation with people about lyrics, and yeah, I recognize that, and I felt that in my heart. You know, we have universal. We share the same universal, the same emotions.
Yes. Very
I
true.
write it down in my way, and you write it down in your way,
Very
but we have the same emotions.
Yeah. Yeah. And making that connection.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
You said playing live is you're getting that immediate reaction.
Yeah.
You know, from fans, and it must be really something. I mean, to just, you feel that in your whole being. You know, I mean, making that connection, and especially playing the smaller shows. It must really, you know, impact you. You
Yeah.
know, and be able to talk to the fans and
Yeah.
and that kind of thing. Yeah.
And I think it's easier to play for a big crowd, because it's more anonymous. And if you're in a small situation like we are now, or here in my room, we have 10 or 15, 20 people. Well, I have to dress myself together from, oh yes, it's very direct. And that's nice. It's really intimate.
Yeah.
Everybody can understand what you sing, and everybody can see how you move, and something, if you slip a finger from the strings, and yeah, and eye contact.
Right.
And sometimes you see people, they mime the lyrics with you when you sing, you know, they see, well, it's, yeah.
It must make you feel good. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
Some of those huge arena, you know, concerts, there's a disconnect, I think, from the audience and the singer, the performers. You know, you're so far back there sometimes that you're hardly able to hear, you know, what's going on. So I think, you know, the smaller settings, you know, I think definitely more intimate, and there's more of that immediate kind of.
Yeah.
You know,
with Fungus, we had big shows, big to us, 1,000, 1,500 people, and there was no response from the audience whatsoever. Sometimes you have crowds like that.
Right.
And people, organizations book you, and on a festival, and you know how it is on a festival. Some groups interest you, and other groups think, well, we'll go for a beer or go to the toilet or whatever. So then you play for yourself, and you see it as a rehearsal. You get paid for a rehearsal, and because the distance between you and the public is so immense.
Yes.
Because you don't feel anything coming from the audience. They just sit there or stand there, and they're not really interested in you. Maybe a handful. Right. And then you're not interested in them also. And, if you're on a stage, it's even a bigger distance.
Yeah.
And if you have a small venue at your home, yeah, you're sitting on eye level with the people. That makes it more interesting.
Yes.
More intriguing, and more. Yeah, it's a challenge.
Maybe there's going to be more and more of that, you know, artists doing that kind of thing too, you know, in the future. But do you still, even to this day, before you perform, get nervous?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always get nervous. I always have to, if I play 2 sets, I have to play all the songs at home first, to be sure that I have played them today once, and then I play them again at the show, at the
Uh-huh.
gig.
Uh-huh.
Well, yeah, that's some kind of routine I have to do.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
I think it's very, if I used to travel by train always, because I didn't have a car then. So I hated it when I had to travel by train and I couldn't rehearse in the train.
Okay.
In my time with Fungus, I know a lot of conductors in trains, and they said, well, you can sit here and play mandolin, which, you know, I
Uh-huh.
used to practice 1.5 hour mandolin, all my jigs and reels in the train.
In the train.
Yeah, and some of them conductors, you have to, you know what a conductor is in the
Yes,
train?
right,
Yeah.
right, right.
And they knew me because they are stationed in Leeuwarden, or they do the same routine every week. They say, "Oh, you can sit in my little cabin, and then I can rehearse." And I hated it when I couldn't rehearse in the train or put new strings on the guitar. Mostly I did that in the train, on the train.
Mhm.
And when you come to a venue and you have to, oh yes, it's 10 minutes you have to play. I hate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to be there an hour, an hour and a half to acclimate, to adapt to the whole situation.
The environment and everything.
Yeah, the environment and the people.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't want to be thrust into something with just
No,
no, no.
because it's very, in a way, it's very vulnerable what you do as a singer-songwriter. You're very vulnerable. You sit there naked, in a way,
Yeah.
figure of speech,
Yeah.
and do your thing. And it's not a machine. You don't put a nickel in it, and
No, no, not at all. No.
no.
It's a human thing, right? It
Yeah,
is very, very
and
much.
and I
Well,
don't have to play for a living anymore. So
right.
if I do a gig, it must be. I try to make it nice with nice people in a nice environment, a nice setting.
That
That's
takes
important.
that takes a lot of the pressure off,
Yeah,
and it's doing music just for the music's sake.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
exactly.
what I do now.
Right, right. I know the whole you know big picture for musicians traditionally and even today is the music side and the business side, you know. And most musicians I've found are not good at business, you know.
Now,
You know, so that becomes a conflict. And unless you have a really good manager, you know, that's not going to rob from you, take from you, you know, it's hard, very hard to make it.
yeah,
But I think with the home studios, what you talked about, doing that today, a lot more musicians are doing that
yeah.
and just making their own product.
Find
You
your
know,
own way and
right,
do what's in your heart and do what you want to do.
right.
Because I know a young singer-songwriter now who has a good a contract with a record company, and her album should have been released 2 years ago and it's still postponed. And there's so much record company wants your royalties, a part of your royalties, a part of your copyright, and a part of the merchandise you sell, a part of the ticket price you ask for
Right.
performing. It's they can't make any money on records anymore.
No,
Almost not enough.
right.
So they want to Spotify, a part of your Spotify.
Yeah.
Spotify is ridiculous. I have
Yeah.
to be played 1,000
Yeah.
times, and I make €3,
Right.
$2
Just
or something like that.
pennies. Yeah, I
Yes,
know.
pennies, and not
It's
pennies from heaven.
yeah, not pennies from heaven. No, it's first there was Napster.
Yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah, and then now it's come around to Spotify. Uh, yeah, I just I mean I'm not like I said I'm not a musician, and I know there has to be the business side of it. You know, I mean you have to make money from it, but I just rather cut out the businessman altogether. And just do it yourself if possible, because it's it's the music. What's the product? It's the music. It's not not the record label. They're not doing anything. They're
No.
just they're trying to manage the money, but they're not producing anything creative out of it. It's the
No.
musician, you
I,
know.
I,
So
I, I had a few CDs out with a small label, with an independent label, and I had to pay the pressing of the CDs. I had to pay the studio, and what they do is they send 60 copies through to the radio or television, to the media, and if there's no reaction, well, sorry, doesn't work. Next
Right.
one.
right, right, and you're out that money. You're
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they drop you
and they drop you. Yeah,
like
yeah.
a brick.
Yeah, I mean the way people come up with ways to make money. I mean, it's not justifiable in my mind. A whole lot of it. It's
No.
like, why am I paying for this? Why, and they can't really defend it. They just say, well, that's the way it is. I mean, if you want to make a product, if you want it to be, popular, you have to do. Anyway, talk about your magical mystery tour bus. Talk a little bit about how that started.
I did one in '67 with the
Okay.
release of Land en Water. Then we
Okay.
traveled from Leeuwarden to Amsterdam by bus, and the
Uh-huh.
record company had that idea. And
Yeah.
now last year I had, I thought, well, maybe it's nice to do that again. So I did, and it was very nice. We traveled from Leeuwarden to Buitenpost. It's about 30 kilometers down the road in a nice place in the woods.
Yeah.
With very nice people, and it was a success.
That's the picture on your Facebook, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the
Uh-huh.
people on a part of the people. There was some people that came with their own car because, well, we started in Leeuwarden, but if you live in Groningen, it's a bit crazy to drive to Leeuwarden first and make make a lot of kilometers to come to Leeuwarden. So I said, well, you come straight to the place where the party is.
Yeah.
So, but it was very nice. People liked it very much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. Is there drinking allowed on the bus?
Well, if you take it with you, yeah.
Okay, bring your own. Okay.
Now we had a quiz. We had a friend of ours. She did a quiz with some questions about and some singing, and it was very nice.
Okay. Road games. Yeah.
Yeah,
What?
road games. Counting cars.
Right. What is here we go. All right. Looking back, who are some of the artists that you've enjoyed playing with over the years?
Well,
Either-
the drum. I mentioned the drummer Louis de Bij.
Mhm.
He's a studio musician. He passed away 3 or 4 years ago. He's a studio musician, and we met him when we were recording the first Fungus album. So he played the drums on that album, and later on he played on my albums the drums also. And well, I remember live shows with Louis, and yeah, he was very nice, pleasant guy, and a very good drummer, because I really like drummers. I'm very fond of Jerry Conway. Used to be the Fairport Convention drummer.
Right.
Especially his drumming on the Sandy Denny albums.
Very good. Yeah.
Where Late November, you know that song, Sandy Denny song, Late November. It's
yes,
on.
I do. Right. Yes, I do.
It's on her first solo album.
Okay.
The North Star, Grassman, and the Raven. There's a song called Late November, and Jerry Conway plays. And I saw him several times live, and I think it's very, very good, very nice, creative drummer. Yeah. And well, I don't know. Playing with Richard Thompson was nice. Was fun.
Yeah. Did you get to talk to him? Did you get to talk to him away from the music? Did you get?
Well, he was very into his. He was with Linda in that time, in that period. He was very in his Muslim thing. So they were kind of withdrawn. Okay. And they were in the dressing room saying prayers and that kind of things. So he was a very nice guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there are, well, I know a guy here from Leeuwarden, Hubert Heringa. He is a multi-instrumentalist. He plays on a lot of my CDs. He plays violin, he plays saxophone, he plays mouth harp. He plays all kinds of instruments. He's a very nice, yeah, eclectic guy who can, well, you have to, he needs 2 words, you know. Oh, you mean this, and oh, you mean that. Well, yeah. And he doesn't want to rehearse. He just comes here in my attic studio, and he listens to the song. He says, "What do you think of this? And what do you think of that?" Well, it's always nice, and it's always good. It's always creative. It's always something different.
Yeah. Kind of organic. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I like.
Yeah. 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 I think it's interesting to how you feed off of each other, the different musicians. Yeah. The give and take and fleshing things out. And yeah, I think that's, and a musician knows another musician. They have that connection, you know. I mean, you know, no matter where you come from, you know. I think that's interesting too. Well, what about, how many books have you published? Are they all fiction?
Now I think about 5 or 6. I wrote some books about running, but they're not really fiction. They're more or less my experiences during running, during a race.
Okay.
It's a reflection on, and I wrote a book about my time in Fungus.
Okay.
That's with a CD with it, with 3 how do you call that? 3 variations on Kaperenvaren.
Okay. Okay.
And I wrote a book. That's a fiction book about dreaming. That came out last year, 2 years ago. Oh, that's about it. Yeah.
Well, I find that fascinating. I talked to one musician who had studied a lot about dreaming, and I like the interpretation of dreams, and I think that's always fascinating. Yeah.
It took me about a year every time I dreamt, and I ran downstairs and wrote it down.
Wrote it down
because your memory isn't prepared for that. You forget it.
Yes.
If you're 2 or 3 hours later, you don't remember what you dreamed. Yeah, some scenes, but it's a whole movie, and it takes about 2 or 3 minutes to dream that.
Exactly.
It looks like
exactly.
It goes on. It goes on.
Yeah, I can wake up the middle of the night and then go back to sleep for, like, 30 minutes or so. Wake up again, and it does. It seems like 2 or 3 hours have gone by. Yeah.
REM sleep.
Right.
Rapid eye movement.
Right. And of course, the band says they didn't name themselves after rapid eye movement, REM. They said that.
No, it's the other way around.
Right. Right. I think so. That's always fascinating to me. Well, and then you have a collection of poetry as well, right?
Collection of what?
Poetry.
Poetry, yeah. That's what people say about my lyrics. They're poems.
Okay. Have you published any of just the poems themselves?
Yeah, one.
Okay.
One book with poems. No, two books, but also with a CD.
Okay, thrown in there too. Yeah, I think that's a good idea too. To do that, like you said, the booklet with the CD included, or the poetry and the CD. I think that's a good package deal.
Yeah.
Well, do you have anything kind of winding down at the moment? Do you have anything you'd like to throw in or add, Sido?
Second song is from my latest album. It's in Dutch. Oh, the other song was in Dutch too. It's called Silhouette. I think that's the same in English. Silhouette. Silhouette of my father. met mijn moeder alleen in die kamer voor twee waar de wereld vergaat. Op het scherm dat het zien laat en ook de krant op de tafel waar er ook nog staat. Als hij ligt in zijn bed, in zijn kamer, alleen veel te wakker en bang. En ik naar hem verlang, onder dekens van wol, spookt de geest extra lang. Op de trap in de gang kruipt een schaduw omhoog, stapt heel zacht overhout. Een lichte windvlaag vol koud door de deur, dat silhouet dat zijn armen wijd open houdt.
Very nice. Your voice still sounds really strong too.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. That was, I like the mood, the whole feel of that one. I like that. Yeah,
Okay.
really nice. Do you let me ask you, do you take anything for your voice? Do you drink honey or anything like that?
No,
No? Okay.
no.
Okay. Okay. All right. All right. Just wondering. Well, that was well done. Well, like I said, thank you for spending some
You're
time with
welcome.
me and for sharing so much.
I hope you can use some of it.
Oh, for sure, definitely. And I feel like there's an audience out there that's, and I've found this with the other ones I've done, that will be intrigued by it and that will be able to find a lot of interesting things to take in and, to watch and experience,
I hope my English wasn't too bad, because
No.
you search for words.
Yeah.
You think, oh, what was that word in English?
No, you did great. You did
Okay.
great. So I appreciate it, Sido, and we'll be in touch. All right.
Okay, thanks very much, Greg.